Welcome to the Ask Mama podcast, where I let the internet ask my mama questions. My name is Melody Angel.
I'm Mama Stephanie.
And here we go. We're going to jump right in. This is probably a special episode for us. We're a small channel. We just started our podcast, but because of the subject matter that we discuss on this podcast, which is about, we talk about relationships and we talk about community building. We talk about uplifting one another, self-educating yourself, and all of those things, mental health. So we definitely want to make sure that we take time out to do our part in this presidential election by discussing what is going on, giving you the updates on what is happening with the Democratic Party right now. Very big news, and we just want a platform where we can discuss how we're feeling about what's happening right now in the Democratic Party as it pertains to this presidential election,
Right.
and also how it's going to affect the black community, which is overall vital information we feel we want to share to as many people as possible. So the big news is that Biden is no longer running for president. He has stopped his campaign and fully endorsed the current vice president, Kamala Harris. So
Right.
first of all, Mom, I want to ask you, how do you feel? I want to take a different tack. This is going to be a little different. We're not a news organization, so I
Right.
want to get down to how we're feeling about what's happening. So first of all, how do you feel about what I would call the disrespect of the current President Biden in this whole situation of him having to resign his campaign?
Yeah, I have to admit I was a little hurt and troubled because I don't like to see anyone mistreated. I'm an empath, so it may have hit me a little different. And I understand the age issue. I understand he may not be as spry as he was 4 or 5 years ago. However, I just believe things should be done decently and in order. And to me, this should have been done behind the scenes and not out in the opening, because that adds to the embarrassment, as if he just showed up and, Grandpa, we're not going to let you do this. I mean, we're taking your keys today. I mean, do it in a loving way. That's what I felt should have happened to him. So I was not pleased at how it happened. And I didn't feel good about that at all. It made me kind of just have a depressing type feeling, especially with the 2025 project going on and all the other stuff.
Well, first of all, the Democratic Party has completely dropped the ball, because 4 or 5 years ago, Biden was still old. He was super old then, and he's super old now. So for them to make him the nominee back in 2020 was their mistake, right? Because you obviously, the same reasons you wanted to get rid of him on the ticket this time is the same reasons that existed 4 or 5 years ago. But you made him the nominee for the Democratic Party. So my feeling is, and with all of these other young politicians that were running for president back then, including Kamala Harris,
That's right.
nobody wanted to back them. Everybody pushed for Biden to be the guy. And then 4 years later, you're like, he's not the guy, he's too old. It's just unfortunate that we have this kind of party that is so off track. They're not focused. They're not unified. There's two different sides fighting. It's been embarrassing, like you said.
It's been embarrassing.
And the thing is this: Biden is not a perfect president. I have issues with him on policy, as I've had issues with every president that I've ever seen on policy, because it hasn't benefited black people enough over the years. They say what they're going to do, and then they don't do it. The whole thing, we can go down that road. But he saved us from another 4 years of Trump.
And hey.
And instead of y'all having a meeting, like you're saying, behind the scenes, and explaining to him your strategy as the Democratic Party, then he could have, with all sincerity and with maturity and leadership, he could have resigned in a public way that gave him the honor he deserves for his hard work, for his 30 plus years of service to the American public. He's been a public servant his whole life. And y'all totally disrespected this man on his way out. And it trashes his legacy to go out like this. Like, nobody wants you here. Go home. Like, this is insane. And it doesn't set up VP Kamala Harris any better. Because now, you know, she's been fighting for this man to keep his job. Now she's got to take the reins and try to be the nominee. Hopefully. It's just a mess. And it's disappointing.
It makes you not trust the process. I have a problem with the process now, because
we voted for this.
I don't know what you might do. You know, and if it's Kamala, I'm fine with that. But is it gonna be?
Well, let's wait on that. Hold on. First of all, let's talk about the DNC, the Democratic National Convention. First of all, I think people are a little bit confused on what the DNC is, what they will be doing. First of all, it goes on here in Chicago at the United Center, August 19th through the 22nd. And when they come, what they will be doing, the pledged delegates from all 50 U.S. states and the District of Columbia and the American territories and superdelegates, which are unpledged delegates representing the Democratic establishment, will attend this convention and cast their vote to choose the party's presidential candidate. So for all of you who think that because Biden endorsed Kamala, that, okay, she's the nominee, that's not how any of this works.
That's right.
Now we have to go to the DNC, and all 50 states have to vote on whether it's going to be Kamala. Now, that means that it's still up for grabs. And with this Democratic Party, is it a conspiracy theory to think that maybe they're trying to push for somebody else?
I don't trust them to know. I don't know.
Because of how they handled this.
I know they've pledged, some of the delegates have given her the vote, but
I mean, well, nobody's given her the vote, but there's been people, because the vote hasn't happened yet, but they've endorsed,
pledging.
Let's just say, at this moment that we're doing this video, Pelosi just endorsed Kamala, and it's been reported that Kamala, after receiving Pelosi's endorsement and Biden's endorsement, and the endorsement of California Governor Gavin Newsom, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, that it's been reported that she has 50% of the delegates needed to become the nominee. Now, that's just a poll. I want to trust that number, because all of these, the Wall Street Journal and AP and CNN and MSNBC, they're all saying that's what's going on. But because of the disloyalty, I mean, that's all I can call it, in the Democratic Party at this time, can you even trust these so-called endorsements. I can trust Biden's endorsement because he's been straight up from the jump.
Yeah.
But nobody else has. And it's concerning. So I want to know, do you think the DNC, when we have the convention, is it going to be a total mess? Or are they going to get their act together?
I'm praying that they get their act together. I mean, it could end up being a total mess. But I pray that what they're saying is what will happen and what we get, because I can't take another blow like this, because we voted for this.
Right.
So I can't take another blow like that. And we're all trying to keep our democracy together. So I'm prayerful that they'll do what they are saying they're going to do. A lot of people have come out to endorse her now. For them to come up with somebody else would really put us in a trick bag.
Also, it would be disrespecting the millions of Democrats, the citizens that are Democrat voters that voted for the ticket of Biden and Harris.
Yes, ma'am.
So if I voted for the ticket, Biden-Harris. So if it's not Biden, it better be Harris.
It better be.
And so my point is this: they cannot devalue the citizens of this country, because now you're jumping into the Trump
how they do business.
How Trump and them do, right? Because these delegates, the 50 delegates, are supposed to vote the way we as the citizens voted.
Yes.
And so if they then bring out somebody else and get rid of the entire ticket that we voted for, they already got rid of half by getting rid of Biden.
Right.
They have absolutely no right to get rid of the other half of the ticket, which is Harris.
Yeah, they can't. Now you talking about a show.
And that's messing with democracy.
Yeah, that's
because we're supposed to be able to choose who we want to run and speak for us in the election,
no matter how much money we have or don't have.
And now you brought up the other elephant in the room.
Lord,
the money,
have mercy.
The major donors. Do you understand that we're in this situation right now? By the time the DNC starts, it will be less than 100 days left in the campaign for president.
Yes.
That's how late in the game we are in this fight, and we don't even know who the nominee is going to be. Meanwhile, they know who their nominee is and who their VP is. So they get to just hit the ball rolling, getting their word out, right?
Right.
The DNC allowed the billionaires who vote Democrat to kick out a sitting president. Let's just give that
a minute,
because what that means is that your politicians aren't even the ones governing America at this point.
Right.
It's the donors.
It's the money.
It's the billionaires. And this is the thing. AOC said that, and she's a representative, a House of Representative, so she's in a lot of these meetings and around all these people.
That's
and
right.
she said on her TikTok, I follow her on TikTok, mostly because she tells it like it is. She ain't sugarcoating. I like people who talk straight.
That's right.
And so she said in these rooms, and from what she's hearing, they're trying to get rid of the whole ticket.
That's something.
Not just Biden.
Now that's
right?
something.
And so we can dive into why, but I'm sure most of us know why. But the thing is that the donors are in total control of the Democratic Party. And that's exactly the thing that is going on in the Republican Party as well, which leads me to this. Just because you're a Democrat does not mean you are not racist. does not mean you don't have vile ideas on how this government should work.
That's right.
I think because the Trump era, this MAGA unit, the Heritage Foundation, Project 2025, because they are so publicly horrible.
Right. They're blatant.
We forget that racism is on both sides.
That's right, because it's the system.
Yeah, it's the system. So, these liberals, so-called liberals, that don't mean you're not racist.
Right.
It don't mean you're not sexist. It just means you're better at hiding. You still hide. You still pretend like you for equality, but you don't vote for equality.
Right.
You don't push equality. You definitely aren't in the forefront of changing things for black people in America.
That's right.
So because of this, it sets this horrible precedent. Now, the billionaires is running everything.
Yeah, we've been shown, because that's why he's not on the ticket anymore. I mean, and that was cruel to me, what they did to that man.
It was cruel, but it's
And
worse
to us.
it's worse for America.
It's
we are worse off having this have happened
right.
at all.
Because I'm a donor.
And it's just like, okay, so the billionaires call all the shots.
Right.
And that's exactly the kind of rhetoric that the Democratic Party uses
To
against
fight.
the Republicans.
That's
like,
right.
they're really behind this, and they're
Right.
really pushing for this, and this, them, that, and the third. Y'all are doing the same thing.
Yeah, this
And
is.
now we have to sit here and see if y'all are really gonna go. I ain't gonna say that they gonna really go totally left. They
Right.
still have one more chance to get the American people on their side, and that's at the DNC.
Yeah, that's when I'm going to be convinced. I mean, it's going to take all that to convince me. I mean, I'm hopeful, though, because, I have God in my life, and to me, he is, with all this going on, he still is the head man in charge, whether you accept it or not. So I'm still hopeful because I have that. But I won't be convinced until the DNC, like you said, that convention. Then I will say, okay, we're
Now, I want to acknowledge some critical history that's taking place here. If all goes the way it should, we will have the second black woman running for president.
absolutely
In history. And so I just want to quickly give flowers to the first woman who, the first black woman who ran for president.
That's right.
And that's Miss Shirley Anita Chisholm.
Yes, ma'am.
She was an American politician who in 1968 became the first black woman to be elected to the United States Congress. Wow. And in 1972, she became the first black candidate for a major party nomination for president of the United States. So a lot of people, I was talking to some people, and a lot of people think it was Jesse Jackson, but it was Chisholm. That was the first
Chisholm.
black person
Yes.
who happened to be a woman.
Yes, ma'am.
To run for the nomination. Of course, she didn't get the nomination, so here we are with Kamala Harris, and if she gets the nomination, she will be the first to really run
Right.
for president.
that seat. Yes, yes, she
which
will.
is, an incredible feat if it happens.
Especially in this climate.
Yeah, in a climate, but that's why it's a big if.
Ooh.
Because this climate is so, on paper, she's a great candidate option.
She
Okay,
is.
let's just be very clear. On paper, there would be no doubt in anybody's mind. If you took racism out, if you took sexism out, she would be a great candidate to
Certainly.
pursue for America, for American democracy,
That's
right?
right.
Because she was a lawyer. She started out as a prosecutor. She has that law and order background that Americans, and I'm talking about white Americans at this point, the majority loves somebody who has a law and order background.
Yes.
She has it.
Yes, she does.
They love somebody that's a lawyer that really knows the law, and she has that. They love somebody who has worked in Congress. She has that.
She does.
So she has on paper the perfect resume, but we all know as black women that matters not.
And it's so ironic that she is like black and a female, which is what these MAGA people are totally against. It's so ironic that she is all of those things.
And it's ironic that black women are the dictators of every election since we've had the right to vote.
Right.
We are the ones that turn the scale almost every single election.
That's right.
If we come out and vote, who we vote for is who wins, usually.
And to know she's the prosecutor and he's the felon.
Exactly. Now we have
It's
to, though,
ironic.
discuss another elephant in the room because, what I'm seeing a lot online from black people is them coming for her because she was a prosecutor, because she, they're calling her a cop and a sympathizer to the police. And I will be the first to say that I definitely was not a fan of Kamala Harris as far as her history as a prosecutor. I'm not somebody that's like all for her on that end. She really will have to prove to me that she's either changed her stance or has a stance on how policing is going on in this country, and how much backing they are receiving from her. How much are they on her side? Or I need to hear what her platform is for policing in this country, because I'm not in that realm of defund the police. I don't like that phrase.
No.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's insane.
What makes sense to me is redefining policing
That's
in this
right.
country, making it a job that actually does what it says on its posters,
Serve
which
and
is
protect.
serve and protect, and reevaluating their union and what they are allowed to do, how they are allowed to harass and manipulate the black community. All of those things come down to reforming the police departments around America. And if she can verbally get the word out from her own mouth to the black community about reforming policing in America,
Right.
I think that will go a long way. If she does not do that, we're going to have an uphill battle for the next 100 days trying to convince, especially young black people,
I think she
to
will.
vote for her. And I really hope and pray that her campaign understands that has to be the number one thing she gets clear to the black community, because we're going to talk about Sonia Macy in a minute or two,
Right.
which is a black woman who just died at the hands of police
Horrific.
for doing nothing at all except calling them for help.
My God.
But this is vital because we are dying by the day at the hands of police who have the right to be the judge and executioner of black people right now. So paramount, number one thing I want to hear from her is about policing in America. What are you going to change? What are the qualifications? I need total reform. I need background checks. I need to know, I need, lie detector tests. I want to know who's a racist with a badge. I want psychology to be a major part of their lives, not just the one time they applied to be a police officer, but they need to be going in and proving that they're not nuts every other month.
They need a
because they
psyche
have a gun that they can put on us and take us out of here.
A psyche
And so
valve,
I know
yeah.
we spoke a lot. I spoke a lot about this, but this is one of those major deals. This is one of those major deal breakers with millennials and Gen Zs. If you go online right now, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, it don't matter where you go, this is what they're talking about. And I really hope that the Harris campaign gets on top of this and speaks to it. Because if they don't, we're not going to have the numbers we need out here to vote.
Well, the alternative is Trump, so
They don't care.
okay.
And so, because that's the thing, the people who care are going to vote. But the people who don't care about that and just want to hear, like they only want to hear about policing in America and Gaza. What is she going to do about those two things? She has to hit home that she has a plan for both of those things, because that is her job in this campaign.
Sure she'll have
and she needs to make sure that it's something we want to hear. I really hope she's on board with what is needed.
I think she is, and we need to hammer 2025 as this goes on to show people what is going to happen
Project
to
2025.
us. We need to make
That's a
sure
whole
you
other-
are aware.
Yeah.
We
That's
can
a
break
whole
it
other thing.
down and present that, because
A lot of people are looking up, the
Lord
things
have
going on
mercy.
with that.
Right.
But just to get back to this video or this episode, at this point, once they get to this DNC, the convention, on August 19th, a lot of things will be revealed.
absolutely.
And we'll definitely give an update. Since we're here in Chicago, we'll probably, try to go to the convention, or at least try to see some of it and see what people are talking about on the ground.
Right.
To give an update to it. But I want to talk about Sonia Macy. And I woke up to the news about her. It happened here in Illinois, in Springfield. And for those of you who don't know, I do a running protest every day. I run 3 miles in protest and in remembrance of Breonna Taylor and the fact that we never got justice for her unjust murder. She was shot and killed in her bed off of a no-knock warrant. It was proven that the detectives on some kind of drug case lied about her involvement in a crime to get access to the no-knock warrant. They went in with their guns and they killed her in her bed. And I started the running protest because I physically needed to do something that kept her name out there, and that reminded people that this is the America that you live in. You live in an America where you could be sleeping in your bed if you're black, and the police can just come in and kill you, and no one is in jail for the crime of murder against Breonna Taylor.
That's so hard.
And because that happened and no one had to take responsibility, no one was put in jail, that means that it can happen again. And it did happen again. And it will continue to happen. And so I'm going to let Mama tell you exactly what occurred but it's a very important story, and it's unreal to me how we can live in a world where this can happen to this innocent woman. She's lost her life, black woman, because she was black. Anybody who thinks that a white woman like this would happen to a white woman in America, show me the story. Show me the proof of a police officer
Never
walking
seen
in and shooting a white woman in the face for no reason. But at the same time that we can have this horrific thing occur, we also have a black woman seeking to run for the highest office in the land, and everybody knows how disgustingly racist it's going to get. They're already calling her the DEI nominee, and the racism of that. And so for anybody who thinks that racism isn't like the main thing going on in America today, is probably white. And so they can separate themselves from their everyday life because they don't have to deal with racism. That's the thing about racism. We, the black people, we're the ones who have to deal with it every day. And when you have no empathy for that, that's why it continues. So, Mama, tell the story of what occurred here.
Well, Sonia Macy, July 6th, she called the police to come to her home because she thought someone was breaking in. She thought she heard something. They came and talked with her and fiddled around, looked in the backyard, and pretty much told her there was nothing. When they came in the house, they still began to look around, had their flashlights out, and you could tell, I could, by the way she was talking and some of the things she said. She told them, you know, I've got some papers I want you to see. And I said, okay. I think that means she wants to explain that she has some type of special needs or something. And she kept talking about these papers. And then she goes in the kitchen. She had some water boiling. And she told this cop, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. And he just went ballistic after that and shot her. You couldn't, you know, I saw the video. They didn't show, of course, all of it, but I also saw the script that was associated with the video. And it said she raised her hands up and said, I'm sorry, but he shot this woman in her face and was cursing and just like, you know, I'm not going to let somebody throw water on me. It was the most outrageous thing I had ever seen. My eyes were seeing it, but I could not believe that he reacted this way. So, fortunately, the trial, they kept him without bail, and he was charged 3 counts first-degree murder, second aggravated battery with a firearm, and 3 official misconduct. That's what the prosecution argued. He's a risk to the community. He had no defense, not a flight risk. That's what the prosecution tried to say. He wasn't a risk, so they were trying to get him to get bail. But the judge just would not. He has a medical condition. He has a ostomy bag because he has colon cancer. But the judge still said, no, you are staying until your next. He denied him bail. His next court case is August 26th.
Even though, you know, they arrested him and charged him, and, you know, that's at least a good sign with this case, and at least we didn't have to do what we usually have to do. We as black people even have to fight for these police to get arrested,
Right.
and I'm glad that they didn't put us through all that. But we have to come down there and protest and do the whole thing just to get the justice that's supposed to be available to everybody. Like when somebody murders somebody, they get arrested. We usually have to fight for that privilege.
Right.
So I'm glad they didn't send this family through all of that. However, it still doesn't like fill me with any kind of hope or justice, because she's still gone. You still ripped a family apart because of pure hate for a race of people. That's just it. Like, he literally is just one of those cops that was looking for any excuse. This is the perfect example of a police officer looking for any excuse, even trying to build an excuse, because all they have to do, what he was trying to do with the water, with the pot of water, they all try to say they feared for their lives.
Right.
That's how they get out of charges. I feared for my life, so that's why I use my weapon, because it's the only reason they can use their weapon.
Right.
Okay? So he was even trying to manufacture a reason
On the scene.
on the scene. And his partner still had their camera on, but he turned his off. So it's just like, when you give them that kind of power, and that's why we need to redesign policing, because redefine it. Because when you give a human being the power to kill somebody, you need to make sure they're not crazy. And I mean, like, every other week, you need to make sure, you need to check in, because these people sign up to be police so that they can go after people that they hate. And I know that the way the systemic system of so-called justice is set up, that this is going to happen again. So it doesn't fill me with any kind of justice that he got arrested, and hopefully he gets, hopefully he goes to jail. Hopefully.
Yeah.
But that's not a given either, just because they arrested him quick. And it's just like, and then I have to accept that it's going to happen again, because the justice system is not created to protect us.
And one of the calls after this was called in, twice someone said that this was a self-inflicted wound. He tried to say it was self-inflicted.
She shot herself in the face.
Right. And
with
then
his gun.
His work history is really something to see, because he worked at least 5 different places. Pawnee Police Department from 8/11/20 till 7/26/21. He stayed nowhere long. Kincaid Police Department from February 21 to May 21, 2021. Verdine Police Department from May 2021 to December 2021. Auburn Police Department, 7/2021 till May 2022. And
They do
Logan
that.
Police Department from May 2022 till April 2023.
And they do that when you have issues. They just keep moving police around. That's why the Breonna Taylor murderers were moved around in the same way. They didn't, they made a big deal about they lost their job. No, they just got transferred. That's what they do. That's what the Catholic priests did with those priests who essayed all those children.
Right.
They didn't get rid of them. They just moved them to a church so nobody would know where they were at.
And
this is what they do. These systems are in place to protect the violence against minorities.
Right.
And that is why it is so crucial to have political leaders in place that value the lives of everyone.
Right.
Because that's the only way we're going to get protected. If your whole thing is make America great again, then that means no protection for my black self, right?
That's
because
right.
make it great again means taking it back to the 50s where I had absolutely no protection, right? And keeping it that way, keeping us below everybody else. So it's a cycle.
It is.
And we have to pay attention to what's happening and understand that, yes, we all have issues in our lives. We all have work. We all have bills. We all have family issues, friends, husbands, wives, children. We got a whole life that we're trying to keep together. But we have to have a selfless side of us as well that understands that we need to do and be involved in the community, in voting, in this. We have to be political. We have to get involved in this because these policies and these leaders are the only thing standing between death and violence toward our family members, our children, and our children's children. We got to be selfless and think about them. Think about the future. Think about the kids that are babies right now walking around. What kind of world are we leaving them with?
Not good. And his last job, the Sangamon County, where he did this, they hired him even though he had 2 DUIs. So he was problematic.
Police are, like we've been saying, police are protected. That's why they have the union. We need to disband that. Like, they should not have unions because that's why they're able to gather up. They get all of this extra money to protect themselves from the violence that and the harassment that they put on minority neighborhoods and communities. It's just it's a scenario that just has been going on since inception. And I feel like there is something about social media that we really have to focus in on, pushing the narrative of please invest in community. Please invest in learning your history so we are not doomed to repeat it. Please take time out to look into the things that we're discussing, in this podcast. And like I said, we're a small podcast. We just started. But if one person that watches this learns something new that they can pass on to their friends or their family, then we've done our job. Everybody has to do their part, no matter how big or small. And I think that's another thing. Like, people think, well, I only have a couple followers and ain't nobody gonna listen to me. If you have 8 followers and you post a video saying, hey, make sure you register to vote. Hey, look into Kamala Harris for VP. Vote. Call your governor and let them know you want this to be your nominee. Right. All of these different things you can do in your own little circle. Right. You don't have to be on the news. Right. Or some big influencer online to do your part. And I think that's very important in today's society where everybody is just so focused on how many likes they get and how many followers they have. Just be a positive force in the community that you already have. And as a matter of fact, the Black Star Network, which is headed by Roland Martin, he's having something on his program called Black Men for Harris. And I thought that was absolutely incredible. Yeah. Instead of complaining about what black men are doing, he's stepping out doing something about it. And that's what you're saying. And if you're out here online complaining about everything that is wrong in America, but you are not involved in changing it, nobody's listening to you. Like, that is freaking ridiculous. You don't want to cultivate, say you don't like the nominees for this election. You know what you're supposed to be doing? Cultivating somebody that you would get to behind.
Right.
Start talking about the person that you would like to see run for president next time. Like, you have to get involved. You can't just say, this is what's wrong with America, but you have no solutions.
Right. You everybody can do something, even if it's just with your family. But make sure we all get out here and vote. It really is a matter of life and death. For real.
This is either the beginning of true reform of this democracy, or it's the beginning of the end of this democracy.
Yeah.
And it's completely up to the citizens of America, which is completely split down the middle between crazy and not crazy.
Yeah.
It's literally gotten to that point. You ain't even got to say racist or not racist. It's literally crazy or not crazy, because you get racist people on one side and you got Uncle Tom's on the same side. So it's just like, you're either crazy or you're not. And the people that are not crazy, you got to take time out and vote, because this like the last election, is vital to our
really
survival
is.
In this country.
Just to bring it home, Trump's VP pick, J.D. Vance, said SA is an inconvenience. So the woman still should have the birth. I mean, this is...
And that's the VP candidate for the second highest office in the land on the Republican side.
Yes.
Not to mention the fact that J.D. Vance also praises Project 2025, which is a whole nother can of worms that we'll discuss in some other video. But yeah, y'all, I know that you're probably hearing and seeing a whole bunch about the campaign, and it's a lot of information, and it can feel overwhelming or feel like, it's just such a mess. But life is a mess. Like, grow up. We got to get real mature here and do what's right for the future, which is for the children. That's what I think about. I don't think about myself in these moments. I think about all of these beautiful little black and brown children out here that have no idea what awaits them.
No.
And that means we still have time to pursue justice for them, to pursue equality for them.
Yeah.
This is for them. If you need a benchmark, or if you need a goal, think about your children, think about your niece and nephew, your grandchildren.
Yes.
Think about them. And then get yourself up and go vote. Yes. And that's all we gonna say on this. Mama, you got something you want to say on the way out?
I do have an affirmation. I recognize rejection as protection and redirection.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching this episode, or for listening to this episode. If you're listening on Spotify, this is the Ask Mama podcast. If you would like to ask Mama a question or just stay up on what we're doing, be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Ask Mama Podcast. We do weekly videos. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Bye-bye.